So welcome to my series on the 5 worst statin ideas I've come across. This is the third in the series, and today we'll be talking about giving statins to everybody over 50. Stay tuned. So what we're talking about today is giving statins to everybody over 50 regardless of their health status. There's a bunch of articles, links in the descriptions for all of them, addressing this particular point. From The Guardian, which is a British newspaper, in 2007, all men over 50 should take statins to lower cholesterol, says heart expert. From The Lancet in 2012, statins for all by the age of 50 years? Missouri Medicine in 2013, will routine use of statins after age 50 become as common as fluoridating drinking water? It should. And from MedStar Health 2018, why many adults over age 50 need statins even if they're healthy. Okay, so let's look at some quotes from these articles. From The Guardian, the shortcut is that once you're a man over the age of 50, you should be on statin. What he was saying was it's very difficult to assess cardiovascular risk. It's not, but he was claiming that it was. Use age 50. Don't bother with looking at HDL. Don't bother looking at triglycerides or triglycerides to HDL ratio. Don't bother looking at the quality of the LDL. You're over 50, just give them. And that was from Roger Boyle, Department of Health's National, which is in the UK, Director for Heart Disease. I don't know if he still holds that position. This article is from several years ago. In that same article, somebody offered a counter opinion. I don't think it is the right approach at this stage. I've always taken a cautious view of prescribing. There's no such thing as a safe drug. Well, a little bit of sanity here. There's always a downside. From that Lancet article, the report, they're referring to another study, extends findings to lower levels of cardiovascular disease risk than is recommended by existing guidelines and shows that benefits of statins outweigh any conceivable serious adverse effects. That just blows me away. First of all, they're talking about instead of 7.5% 10-year cardiovascular risk, let's start treating people with 5% or 2.5%. It's not conceivable that somebody would get rhabdomyolysis or necrotizing myositis or any of the other myriad of side effects that statins give. It's inconceivable. This is just like outrageous. How can they actually say that? They can look at the numbers and say, well, out of all these people, very few have serious adverse effects. But those people still have serious adverse effects. So the benefits do not outweigh that. This is just an outrageous statement. It's the framing of it. They're looking at us as a statistical pile rather than people who actually have to live a life. From MedStar Health, statins are our safest treatment for heart disease. So safe, in fact, that I've advocated for statins to become available over the counter. I mentioned this particular doctor in my previous video. Yes, he does advocate that. So the claim that they're so safe that they should be over the counter, they're so safe that they should go to everybody over 50, this is just this denial that's out there among these doctors who just absolutely refuse to accept that there are serious adverse effects from statins. From Missouri Medicine, in conclusion, we are not at the point of adding statins to our drinking water. Topic for future, as we did fluorides. I agree with protagonists that in most individuals, attainment of age 50 alone is enough of a risk factor to strongly consider statin therapy. Millions of years of evolution, lifestyle changes that we should be making, those things don't count. Just take a pill. You're over 50, you have to take this pill for your health. It's not possible. You're not allowed to be healthy enough to not need a statin if you're 50. So here's a counter argument. A very well written article in Scientific American in 2012, the stats on statins, should healthy adults over 50 take them? So here's some points made in this article. But such outcomes are rare in healthy individuals, so the risk reduction actually translated to 0.77%. Not 7%, not 77%, but less than 1%. And this was the article author's interpretation of a study that was reviewed earlier in the article. I mean, this is only a 2.5-page article. It's a good read. Everybody should read it. A subgroup analysis reveals that among people who did not have heart disease, statins only reduced the absolute risk by 0.4% per year. And that was from the work of Dr. Ray. He's a cardiologist at St. George's University of London. From what I could tell, just the way the article, remember this is a summary article, a newspaper article, so I believe it was actually attributed to this doctor here. So 0.4% per year. In other words, 1 out of 250 people would be helped. Prior to the start on one of the trials, potential subjects were given statins for several weeks. If any individuals experienced side effects, they weren't invited to the trial. Pointed out by Rita Redberg, who is a cardiologist at the University of California at San Francisco. Somewhere in the article it went on to say that's not good science. Yeah, I have to agree. Also from Dr. Redberg, there are a lot of people taking statins who are not getting any benefits from them, and they're subject to a lot of adverse events. So we can see that there are prominent doctors who actually at least acknowledge that there's a lot of adverse events caused by statins out there. So where are we today? Well, one thing we have to be aware about is sometimes headlines, even print headlines, are sort of clickbaitish, metaphorically at least. They sometimes misrepresent the positions being put forth. There was a Washington Post headline, "New statin guidelines, everyone 40 and older should be considered for the drug therapy." Well, when you get into it, reading the article, it turned out they were just talking about the new standards of care, which says if you're over 40, then you should be screened for various other things. You know, do you smoke? Do you have type 2 diabetes? Do you have high blood pressure? Yeah, that kind of screening. Now, there are actually, and I admit this, there are some people whose risk is so high that taking a statin is an option they ought to consider. But currently the push for statins for all over 50 people, it's alive, but it's not been implemented to any great degree yet. And even if it does, your best defense against it is just say no. If your doctor says, I want you to take this statin, and the reason is because you're 50 years old, get yourself a real doctor. A doctor who can actually assess whether you're one of those few cases where statins will actually help. So that's all I've got on giving statins to everybody over 50. If you appreciate this content, please like, share, subscribe, and comment on this or other topics that you'd like me to cover. And if you haven't seen this video, I recommend you take a look at it now. Thanks for listening.